than a decade at the helm, he has built one of the world's largest and hungriest online travel companies with a brand portfolio that keeps growing and growing and growing. Please welcome the president and CEO of Expedia, Mr. Dara Khosrowshahi.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing, Dara?
Thank you.
Thank you. So before we start getting into our conversation, we just watched a beautiful video. What's the role of OTAs, a role of Expedia at that top of that funnel at the inspiration phase?
Well, we've been very much involved. We've been partners with Brand USA for some period of time. I've been involved with the U.S. Travel Association, and part of the goal of that association was to really market the United States as a destination much more effectively. The U.S. is incredible as far as the breadth and depth of choices that you've got. And we thought that featuring the national parks was, golden opportunity. So we're sponsoring the film. We partnered up with Brand USA. They led the initiative to build it. And listen, we think the U.S. is a great product. We built our brands internationally to the extent that we can help get foreign travelers to the U.S. We think it's a great destination, and obviously we would be doing something for the domestic economy, which is great.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
And what else is nicely done was the past 12 months for Expedia.
It's been a busy 12 months.
So first we had the Travelocity acquisition, the Orbitz acquisition, and then the announcement of HomeAway.
You forgot What If.
And Wotif.
Yes.
It was in the past 12 months as well. So going to the U.S., what made you decide this was the time? I mean, even if you didn't acquire Orbitz and your competitor did, you would still have the largest market share in the U.S. So what made you decide it was time to take out Travelocity and Orbitz?
I think that it was an opportunity that we found in having invested in and built up this technology backend and technology platform for Brand Expedia. We had a problem as a company 6 years ago where we were a technology company with crappy technology. And we had to really reinvest in our tech. I think the amount that we spend on technology now is $750 million. It's quadruple where it was 4 or 5 years ago. We built this terrific platform, hired these incredibly talented engineers and product folks, and we thought we built the platform in a way in which we could take multiple brands and put them essentially on top of that platform with some customization, branding, et cetera, some customization around sort and different loyalty campaigns so that the customer gets a different experience. Pricing can be different, sort can be different, et cetera, but you don't need to have all these different platforms and double, triple spend on technology. So it was an opportunistic acquisition. One of them worked, so we thought, well, if that one worked, maybe another one can work as well.
But there's still got to be a lot of work integrating, obviously, these two OTAs, especially Orbitz. What is the process? I mean, when do you see that?
Well, we're at the beginning now in Orbitz. We closed Orbitz fairly recently. We have made the decision to put Orbitz.com and cheap tickets onto the Brand Expedia platform, although the experience will be different. Orbitz users will have that Orbitz loyalty program, which is super innovative, et cetera. And then there are other parts of Orbitz. Orbitz for Business, for example, will go into Agencia. That's going to take longer. Orbitz have built a terrific business in powering sites like American Express Travel on the leisure side. That's a piece of the business that, based on what we've seen in Orbitz, super interesting business, terrific technology, really good team. That's an area where we're going to lean into and hopefully build on what Orbitz did. So it's a little bit different from Travelocity, which was a bit of a lift and shift. Orbitz is more the two companies coming together and picking the best of breed, and there are definitely parts where Orbitz was best of breed.
Maintaining, say, the Orbitz for Business brand for a while?
I don't think we'll maintain the brand, but you can bet that we're going to maintain that technology team, and that technology team is going to really add to our platforms going forward, and we're going to really invest behind those partners.
And what about the other Orbitz brands? You're going to maintain the cheap tickets, the e-bookers?
Well, we will maintain the brands, and we will try to leverage technology as much as we can. That's usually the design behind that kind of an acquisition.
Okay. I know you said to T News recently, if there's a high water mark, we haven't hit it.
I'm sorry, the what?
You had said to T News recently, if there's a high water mark, we haven't hit it.
No, listen, we are constantly improving and optimizing as a company. And I said it after our earnings call, there's no one at Expedia who's sitting comfortably in their chairs, including myself here. You know, this is a business that's moving very quickly. The minute you stumble, someone's going to catch up to you, and they'll take advantage of your weaknesses in a second. So we've got to keep moving and keep innovating, and hopefully we can continue to be one of the leaders in the field.
So how has the Orbitz acquisition changed your product mix?
I think that certainly domestic becomes a bigger part of our business. One of our stated goals, about 55% of our business is US based. We've wanted to make that, we want the international business to be about 2/3 of our business, which marries the overall travel pie. The US is going to get even bigger. Now, we got lucky because the US economy is super, super strong, and it's a really good time to be invested in the US at this point. So I think it's certainly going to increase our US mix. It's going to increase our air mix, which used to be a bad thing. We like that. And then we are going to use some of those profits that we get from the Orbitz acquisition to reinvest very aggressively in global expansion.
So two things you said, and we'll get into the international piece, but also about increasing your air mix. You like it. You wouldn't have liked it a few years ago. You like it now. Why is that?
Well, we like to allocate capital where others don't. And based really on the incredible success of Booking.com and TripAdvisor, you've had the vast majority of the capital in the online travel space go to the hotel business. Much higher margins, et cetera. And the air business was always seen as kind of a crappy, complicated business that no one invested in. We kind of thought that we could bring scale to what was a crappy, complicated business, really start innovating on product, and take a leadership position on air, because to the extent that we can sell that air ticket, we can market lots and lots of other things in market.
So the attachment rate
to that consumer. Absolutely. The attachment rate for us has gone up. And we think our air product, if you think about how we sold air 3-4 years ago, it was price and schedule. But there's so much more about air that people are interested in. Do I have Wi-Fi, et cetera? Now we've got route happy ratings there. You know, you can put pictures. We have real-time reviews now. You know, how did you enjoy your flight, et cetera? In flights, it's in hotels now, it'll be in our other parts of our business. So we think the flight product can be better, it can be faster, and we don't see other global players investing in flights, so it's a great area for us to go into.
Okay. And rail is another new initiative.
Yes, absolutely.
What's going on there?
Well, listen, it's a incredibly...
The untapped market?
I'd say there are two angles. It's an incredibly important transportation medium, especially outside the US and Europe and in Asia. So we want to be there. We don't think we're going to make much money on selling rail, but we do believe it'll give us an opportunity to upsell other product to consumers, because we will have the context of where they're going. Another factor for rail is that it's a pretty high frequency purchase. And one of the problems that all of the travel companies have with their apps is that the most successful apps in the world are the ones that have very high frequency use cases, messaging apps, et cetera. Travel is an infrequent purchase, and therefore, the more we can start delivering to consumers, the more frequency they have with our apps, the more sticky they are, the more they repeat, et cetera. So rail is about attach and about frequency, and again, it's another opportunity. You know, we've partnered with Silver Rail, which is a terrific company, and we just don't see that many people investing in rail, so we'll do it.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing you mentioned, and I remember Expedia saying, at one point, if we were 50%, this was years before you were there, 50%.
We've been stuck on that 50 for a while.
Right, 50-50. Well, it was also 50 corporate, 50 leisure, which I don't think has really happened, but that's okay, because your leisure market just got so big. But let's go back to the 50 international versus domestic. Now, you've made some moves, right? So you've divested Elong.
Yes.
Okay, you've increased your partnership with AirAsia, acquired Wotif.
Mm-hmm.
So how has that kind of shifted your Asia strategy? Now, what do you plan to do in Asia, and China specifically?
Well, I think Asia is going to be largely organic as far as the strategy from here. We've got the Expedia brand, and the Expedia brand has gotten much stronger with the AirAsia joint venture. We really radically accelerated the growth of Expedia in the APAC region through that joint venture.
What made you decide to get out of the e-loan business?
Because it was just too tough to compete in China for the domestic Chinese traveler. Now, we made money, we did fine, we weren't looking to get out, but the competition in China became price destructive. And when you're sitting in a room and looking at your product versus a competitor product and feeling like they know more about the market than you do because they're locals, that's not a good sign. That's not a comfortable place to be. So we took a realistic assessment of the situation. We weren't going to make money on the domestic Chinese traveler. We got a very fair price for that asset. And now we're focused on the outbound Chinese traveler. So we're partnering up with Ctrip and Qunar and a number of other folks to power packages, merchant hotels. And actually, we just launched Expedia, a hotel-only Expedia site, for example, in China as well. So step by step, we're going to reinvest, and I think it'll be a good, aggressive, organic growth plan for us.
So you pull back, and now you're fully going to step up.
We've got a question from the floor.
Sure.
Hey, Dara, Mark Mahaney. I know you've had a presence in business travel for a long time with Agencia. You just made a comment about allocating capital where people aren't.
Yes.
And it seems like there's a lot more capital innovation that's gone into consumer travel over the last 5 years. So I guess the question to you is, how do you think about the business travel opportunity for Expedia over the next 5 years? This may be a great place for new area growth. I know you're already there, but if you want to be a contrarian, what about this?
Yeah, listen, we absolutely love the Agencia business, and we want to invest more capital behind Agencia. I think Agencia is the only true technology company in business travel. They are to their core, they're putting together technology and they're putting together service, and they are building an end-to-end platform. I look at it as the difference between a Mac, where they're building the hardware, the software, the operating systems, they're in charge of the chips. If you look at the other corporate players, they're putting various levels. There's a different corporate booking tool, and then service comes from someone else. And you lose quality there when you've got different players there. So it's a single vertical stack. We've invested in it very aggressively organically, and every 2 to 3 years, you'll see us go buy another player. We bought a company in Via in the Nordics. We bought Orbitz for Business. And I think in a couple more years, you'll see us buy another player and integrate it in, et cetera. The pacing behind Agencia, the only limit in Agencia is our ability to integrate. Because the one thing that we do is we build a platform that's incredibly strong on customer service, very cheap, and if you don't integrate, you lose that scale. So we are buying and integrating as fast as we can, and I think that business is going to be, top 3 corporate travel agency in a number of years.
So speaking of buying, HomeAway.
Yes.
So
Marcello could have made a presentation to our board about that. It was it's good.
What did you think of that?
Very good.
Basically was saying, hey, that was Airbnb.
Yes.
Focused on Airbnb. So what did you learn from your HomeAway partnership? Because that didn't really seem to be going anywhere.
Well, listen, we learned that our customers are certainly interested in the product based on the context of how they were traveling. So that's not the kind of product, at least at this point, that we would display for a single traveler who is traveling midweek. But if you had a person who is traveling to a resort destination, long stay, and traveling with more than one person, that product actually performed very, very well. And as Brian talked about, the key issue there is when you're sharing economics with someone else, it becomes much more difficult to throw volume to the product where you're making cents on the dollar versus the dollar. And we make $1 on the hotels. So once we bring HomeAway in, as HomeAway brings more of their product to be online bookable, we're quite confident the data tells us that this product is going to work for us.
So what you did at that point was kind of thinking about integrating it into your hotel product, and you think that maybe that wasn't quite the right way to do it, that there was another way to integrate the HomeAway properties?
I mean, listen, the most important aspect of our buying HomeAway was because we believe in the HomeAway product. We believe in whole homes, we believe in vacation rentals, And we believed in the vision of that team of taking the business from a listings business to a transactional business. And we think we can really, really help there on the product and technology side. That's what's going to make that deal pay off for us. Then there's a bonus of increasing our addressable market as far as our supply goes. Everyone knows alternative accommodations are a fact of life, and this hugely increased the amount of alternative accommodations that we have so that we've got the maximum addressable supply out there on a global basis.
So 1.2 million vacation rentals.
Yes.
What's the plan of bringing those online?
Well, the team is bringing them online and making them online bookable.
And how long will that take?
The target is to make the majority of it online bookable by the end of the year. And then it's about driving the transactions online, because there are lots of ways in which the transactions can go around the system. If they go around the system, we don't monetize them. So you've got to create the incentive for transactions to happen through the platform. And certainly Airbnb has built that playbook for us, so I think we'll take a look at that playbook and adjust accordingly.
I was going to ask, was it purchasing, or the plan, intent to purchase HomeAway, was that a hedge against Booking or Airbnb or both? And which one do you worry about more?
I worry about both of them, but I worry much more about Booking than Airbnb. Right? Booking they're an incredible competitor. They're going right at the heart of our revenue. I think Airbnb is going to be an important product, but it's going to be a product. It's not kind of right at the heart of the lodging ecosystem, in my opinion. Now, that alternative accommodations, it is an important product, and we want to have that product available, which is why we made the HomeAway bet.
So,
Dara, can I interrupt with just a quick follow-up question from the floor? You had said at the conference here 2 years ago that you thought Airbnb was really additive and not competitive. Do you still think it's additive, or are you getting a little bit more concerned about Airbnb?
I think it is additive and competitive in that it is adding supply into destinations. Anytime you add supply into a destination, prices are going to come under pressure. And in general, Airbnbs are priced under, let's say, the hotel inventory out there. So I do think that there will be revenue or ADR pressure over the next 5 years as the supply comes into the marketplace. Anytime you add supply into the marketplace, you take prices down, you actually boost demand. So I think there's going to be a generation of new travelers who travel more because of that inventory, and it's going to be additive. So I think it'll be a combination. Now that we have alternative lodging available and addressable for us, we think in general it will be a good thing.
Yeah, because I'd wanted to ask, do you think that your hotel partners are going to start feeling threatened? You're bringing in all this new inventory. They kind of feel like they're struggling against the tide a bit?
The inventory is there anyway. People are staying in those places anyway. So we're not bringing that stuff online. It's coming one way or the other. And I think, you can spend your time resisting change or resisting consumer trends. And the people who do that typically lose share over a period of time. Or you can look at those trends and you can act based on those trends. It's here to stay. It's going to grow. This alternative accommodations is where independent hotels were 10 to 15 years ago. They weren't online. It wasn't standard fare. It was really hard to get information on them. So players like ourselves in Booking brought that stuff online, put pictures, reviews, all that stuff. And that really spurred part of the growth of independent hotels. And I think same thing is going to happen with alt lodging.
So what's your advice for hotels?
I'm sorry?
What's your advice for hotels? Part of the you mentioned Marcello's presentation, and part of that was about, the old grandpas who deny the impact of HomeAway and Airbnb.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all devices, honestly. It's the amount of... I do think that where hotels can use technology more effectively is the in-hotel stay experience. Mm-hmm. I think that there's some focus on distribution, but the fact is that we are built for distribution. I think where hotels have an advantage is the in-destination stay, checking people in automatically, being able to go into your room without a key, being able to check out automatically, being able to order room service very, very easily.
HomeAway might move into that direction, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, HomeAway will do it, Airbnb will do it. I think the hoteliers have to get there, and I think it's a delightful experience for guests.
Mm-hmm.
Lorraine, we have a question from the audience for Dara.
Hello, Dara. Do you
Hi.
think that personalization is the best way to increase retention and frequency?
I think personalization can absolutely work, but personalization can complicate your product. So I think the best way to increase retention and frequency is to have a terrific service, have the best prices, the best depth and breadth of product out there. To the extent that you personalize, we personalize in some way. So if you stay at a certain hotel, we'll feature that hotel on top of the sort. We'll adjust our sort based on your past purchases, etc. I think that to personalize at a deeper level, that creates very significant product complexity, and we're not ready to go yet to that level. But I do think over a period of time, personalization is certainly going to increase.
Dara, another question from the floor.
Hey, Dara, it's Mike Olson. Some others in the category are moving beyond traditional travel bookings into other peripheral categories, and you guys are doing that with alternative accommodations. But what's your take on restaurants and tours and attractions and the like?
Well, restaurants we'll leave to our competitors. I think that spot is covered. The unit economics are not great. Frequency is pretty good, but unit economics are not great, and that's gone. So we have zero interest in restaurants at this point. Tours and activities is actually pretty interesting to us, and that is one of our fastest growing segments at this point. We do have now when you go in market, you can order tours and activities online on your phone. And I think that the most important step on tours and activities is the delivery mechanism for tours and activities. Right now, you've got to print out vouchers, and you've got to bring vouchers, et cetera. We've got to build that back-end technology so that the experience is much, much smoother, not just in search and purchase, but in redemption as well. And this is an area that we're very, very excited about. Again, we know you're flying into a market. We know that you may be taking a train into a market. Our ability then to market that kind of in-stay activity is an advantage that we have versus some of our competition. So we're going to take that advantage.
Have you thought, though, about, looking at a Get Your Guide, raising all this money and...
A lot of money.
Yeah. But you've done it organically.
I think they've built a very, very good service, and it's one of the last verticals out there that's of size. There's a lot of fragmentation, and any time that there's a lot of fragmentation in a marketplace, distribution players can add a bunch of value. So clearly, the investment reflected that potential value.
So someone asked Steve Kaufer yesterday, of course, the question about Expedia joining the instant booking.
Sure.
And his answer was, ask Dara. So I'm asking Dara.
I'd say ask Steve.
Come on.
Listen, I think TripAdvisor is a super important partner for us, very important distribution mechanism for us. We weren't interested in the instant book product based on where it was a year or two ago. The formula that we have for TripAdvisor and a number of other variable channels is that we make very little money on the first transaction. And all of the money we make is through the lifetime value and the repeat that we're able to bring in as we acquire those new customers. Well, the instant book product originally, you couldn't even see the branding as to whom you were actually transacting with. The early kind of experience that I've seen that they're testing with Booking.com gives Booking.com much more significant branding, which I think makes it a better proposition and something that we'll take a look at. We're not religious about this. We'll test and learn, but instant booking has changed a lot, and that will cause us to take a second look.
So with Priceline owning Kayak, partnering with Trip, right, and Expedia owning Trivago, and really partnering with Book on Google, because you are experimenting with their booking. Sure,
and I think
Are we starting to see kind of a divide in meta among the two giant OTAs?
I don't think so. I think, listen, the Trivago experience, the express booking experience, is not about booking on Trivago. Trivago actually takes you onto the site in which you're booking, but it's about facilitating the booking and really helping conversion, especially for the independent hoteliers, et cetera, who need to optimize on conversion, or helping conversion on mobile. We see the same thing on Google as well. There's plenty of branding, and if there's plenty of branding, we think that repeat's going to be there. It's a channel that we'll test and learn on.
But you have said in your earnings call that you are seeing some less business coming from TripAdvisor, not a good thing.
Well, we see less business coming from TripAdvisor because they're sending more traffic to Instant Book. So certainly that's not a good thing, but we've been able to mitigate that, and our room night growth was at record levels this last quarter. So we've been able to do something right and mitigate the loss of volume there.
Okay. So what we're going to do with the last minute that we have, we're going to play a little game.
Uh-oh, okay.
Okay, we go true or false. True or false, Amazon gave up way too easily on the travel space.
False. It's in my interest to say false.
Yeah, you didn't want them in there?
You know, we were partners with Amazon earlier in travel, and it was a disaster for both of us the first time. So
they made the right move.
You know, they tried a second time.
Whoever has more homes to rent wins.
I think true in the end.
True?
Yeah.
Yeah. China's a money pit.
True for us. But false for C-Trip, I'll tell you that.
Expedia paid too much for HomeAway.
False. I hope.
Of course. And never means next year.
Apparently, yes. The product has changed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dara Khosrowshahi.
Thank you. Thank you very much.